Very nice.
Over this way, guys.
Too interested in what's going on over there. Who's crying? Channing, you're okay?
Children, teenagers, and adults take acting, dance, and art classes from teachers who live around the corner and around the world, where artists work in shared studio spaces, where actors rehearse and hone their material, where writers, playwrights, and poets stage readings, music students practice, where our organizations will office side by side, sharing opportunities and strategizing problems. This will be a place which belongs equally to children and seniors, amateurs and veterans, volunteers and professionals, teachers and students. It will be a place of joy and serious pursuit. Most importantly, the center will put the creative soul of each one of us where it belongs, in the heart of Aspen. I think that this was written by Mary Apple, who was the former director of the Arts Council. Mary was the first to express the idea of the red brick turning into an art center. At least she was the first to express it to me, and I think we owe her a great thanks. I'd like to quickly highlight some of the themes that are important to this project. First of all, I think everybody will agree that it really exemplifies the Aspen idea, where arts, recreation, and culture flourish in a natural setting, enriching our lives. This has been a cooperative effort from the very beginning, with the school district, the city council, and the arts council all working together to make this happen. It's going to continue to be a cooperative effort, with the city owning the building. The Arts Council will be managing it, and we'll have all kinds of input, I'm sure, from the community and our tenants. Having all these organizations under one roof will create what we consider to be an incubator effect. We can hardly wait to see what the collective creative energy here spawns. As you all know, the history of this building was as an elementary school. We're thrilled that kids and education will continue to thrive here. The building has huge potential. I think that we can't even imagine today some of the things that will go on here in the future. It's going to be fun to watch. I'd like now to introduce Julia Marshall. Julia is a landscape architect who's been very active with the art park and also with this building from the very beginning, working on space issues, tenant planning, tenant finishes, et cetera, et cetera. Julie is also a member of the Arts Council Board and has chaired our Red Brick Committee. Julia?
Sit. Down.
Julia Marshall.
Hello,
I have
sir.
a little help from my friend. Can you hear? Okay.
No, now.
Now? I wanted to, just before I announce the winners for the bench and signage competition, say that I was thinking about the red brick and realizing that it was about 20 years ago when the notes first appeared about trying to do something with this building that would make it into an arts community center. And I was thinking about what this author, William Gass, said when he would start to write something. He would say, you put your pen to paper and you'd begin writing, but that wasn't necessarily the beginning of whatever book that he would finally come up with. He said you'd write a chapter, you write another chapter, and maybe that still wasn't the essence of a beginning. And I think about 20 years ago, the first idea, then 3 years ago, the vote, then all the different meetings that we had in order to work with the neighbors to keep the idea going, choosing the architect. And I think that all of that sort of signifies the beginning, but I still think that today is just where we're at, and this is really the true beginning. And it takes so much effort, and I just wanted to thank everybody who was involved, because there's so many people. For my part of it, the bench competition was very special because this building needed to be enlivened by the work that comes out of our community. And so we had the competition. 6 people brought their benches over, and we thank each and every one of you for bringing your benches. It's probably going to help me here. The winners of the, or actually let me just go ahead and mention that Nick and Maggie DeWolf and the Pitkin County Land Management Fund sponsored the competition and made it possible. And so really, I'd like to have a little round of applause for those people. The winners of the competition are Beth and Pierre Willie, and theirs was a very wonderful bench that looks like an upside down bicycle. All of the winning benches are marked with a balloon so that you'll know which one it is. The second winner was Marlene Mickey. Her bench is one that you just can gracefully sit back in and imagine yourself taking a kind of little nap in the courtyard some afternoon, winter or summer. It is the kind of grayer wood bench that has kind of gnarly wood with it. All of the benches are located along the face of the building. And the third bench was made by Jeffrey Mallon. And that bench is the split log bench that is highly polished. But you can go and test these benches out. But again, we thank everybody for contributing because we know we're going to need help in the future with adding more benches to this building and creating more places for people to sit and enjoy the art here. The signage competition was sponsored by the Busher Foundation of Snowmass. I'd like everybody to kind of just give them a little applause and thank them. We actually had only one submission for the signage competition, but it was just so good that you can't say no to things that are this good. We asked them to present a kind of an example of what the entrance sign would be. And so this is an entrance by Margaret Mathers. We'll use this style. It will, round of applause for Margaret. She's actually helped us on a lot of things. She's done a lot of the design work for here, and we're very excited that she went ahead and entered the competition after all the hours that she's donated on this project anyway. The sign, this sort of sets up what the style the signage will be for the donor plaques, all of the different rooms on the inside of the building, and the outdoor signs, and also the entrance signs to the building. In addition to thanking those people and just sort of celebrating the fact that those artists are going to help us create an even different layer that's going to be added to this building, I wanted to thank Joanne and Lee Lyons for the gallery. They donated the money for having the gallery refinished so that we will now be able to have art all the way up and down the halls. The Kuiper Foundation was very generous in helping with windows so that we have new windows, particularly in this section of the building.
Down.
Newstrom Davis Construction was kind enough to donate the labor and the materials for the community room, which is going to be used as meeting place and things like that. But we'd like to thank them as well. And again, just thanks everyone. Everybody plays an effort in this to make this successful, and I do feel like this is just a starting point for a great beginning. Thank you.
Oriented park, and I know Julie is going to be a big help with that also. Now I'd like to introduce Rachel Richards, who we all know is a city council member. Rachel is also on the Arts Council board and has been for the entire life of this project, and she is represented on our board, the City Council. Rachel also headed up the campaign committee, which was instrumental in getting the voters' approval to issue bonds which funded this project. We all know it was a close vote, and without Rachel's help, it never would have happened. Rachel?
I tell you, after 3.5 years on the Aspen City Council, today is probably the happiest day of my life right now. It's really inspiring to see what can happen within our community when we set a clear vision and we take the problems and the obstacles to that vision one by one and overcome them and put out the community effort to bring things home to us that define where we will be yet 20 years from now, and not just what's going to cost us in the next 6 months. So thank you one and all for making this happen. I have some notes here of all the people who were so instrumental, and I don't want to make this take too long, but it's really important that we understand the conglomeration of effort that put this project together. And it started with the previous City Council and Council members Frank Peters and Margot Pendleton, who worked with the school district in terms of developing a long-term plan for these two sites when the school district moved out. It went forward with Frank Peters pushing the new City Council with Augie Reno and Rachel Richards and John Bennett to examine these projects and see if they couldn't somehow fit into our budget. We took that imperative and put together a citizens blue ribbon panel who then again looked at what could the city afford and how were we taking care of our existing assets and how we could maintain those assets and yet reach out for one more grand and glorious asset. Mary Apple was there to organize and galvanize the arts community. Even though there had been an Arts Council retreat that had come up with a previous top goal of funding stabilization, Mary realized that this was a one-time opportunity, and she steered the arts groups towards making this the priority for that year. Dana Bachelador is not here today, and she was an Arts Council assistant at that time. And when we got into the campaign mode, she gave another 20 or 30 hours a week, every week, to me to make sure that campaign succeeded. And we really owe her a debt of gratitude for putting in the extra time above and beyond the call of duty for someone who was only here on a summer vacation. Once we got into the campaign mode and started galvanizing the spirit and clarifying the message and trying to get that out, Maggie DeWolf was one of the early funders who gave $1,000 to the campaign committee to make sure we could get up and going. And people like Margaret Mathers gave all the artwork to make sure that we had a symbolized campaign, and that campaign symbolized our future. And what she drew on for that campaign was the handprints that the kindergartners had left on the side of this building as they moved out. And it said that life will continue in this building, and the handprint on the brick wall has been a symbol since then of what the Red Brick Project really meant. Gary Gleason helped us greatly, producing the foundation. The bricks of our past were the foundation for our future, and we had to move forward with the arts foundation for our future. Ann Hodges gave artwork. Eve Homeyer graciously became treasurer of this campaign and said that this is an important thing for our community to do. Mick Ireland helped form the strategy on this and has been a Red Brick supporter for a long time. Cy Coleman of KJAC's public radio station gave countless hours on his computer and in this campaign making sure we had those 3 extra votes. Jerry Bennett was instrumental. And Charlie Brooks at Brooks Printing gave us a lot of printing time and a lot of fast turnaround on our printing. Jeanette Darnauer and Chuck Brandt from the school board went to forums with us and debates with us and told us why this is a good project for the school district too. But that was just the beginning of the battle, because then we did only win by 3 votes, and we had to go forward from there and clarify and make sure there was community support. And I really consider that to be the trench work. The campaign was short-lived. It was a 5-week event. But the people who stayed in the trenches and stayed in the community service and who made sure this project came out whole and complete as we see it today were Julia Marshall and Joanne Lyons and Janet Garwood and Bob Camp and Jill Uris. Without their undying efforts over the following year, we would not have the project we have today. I'd like to thank them, and I'd like to thank the people who've carried on from there, with Chris Nolan, Bill Efting on behalf of the city, Chris Caruso, our asset manager, who brought this project in on time and on budget. And yeah, the one thing we all asked for. So thanks to Amy Marjoram and Molly Campbell and Tom Hines and John Hamway and Steve Aldridge and Don Flesher and everybody else who put their bid in there, and everybody who's made this turnout today. I think we're all going to be real happy with this turnout. So thanks everybody.
Thank you, Rachel. Now is the moment we've been waiting for at least 4 years, the ribbon cutting. None of this would have been possible without the support and the commitment of the City of Aspen, the city staff, City Council, and the residents of Aspen. In the broadest sense, the city owns the building. Representing the city, I'd like to introduce and please welcome Mayor John Bennett.
Has said, this is indeed an extremely special day. This is one of those days in Aspen when the past and the future sort of come together and meet for an instant. And we look at the history of this site, the 100-year-old history of this property, and the 50-year-old history of this building, and we look forward to the kind of history that is going to happen here over the next 20 years, be created here. I would like to, without further ado, and we'll get to the ribbon cutting, read a proclamation on behalf of the City of Aspen. Whereas the City of Aspen enjoys a rich artistic heritage and a vibrant diversity of resident arts groups and artists, and whereas Aspen's art groups have traditionally struggled to find adequate and affordable studio, office, and rehearsal space in Aspen, and whereas the renovation of the Red Brick School as an art and recreation center has given local arts groups and artists a much-needed common home that will encourage a lively exchange of ideas and a healthy cross-fertilization of creativity. And whereas through this facility, the City of Aspen Recreation Department will now be able to offer more athletic programs to meet the needs of Aspen's residents and guests. And whereas the Red Brick Arts and Recreation Center will serve as a community center for artistic creation and athletic endeavor. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor, City Council, and all the citizens of Aspen hereby recognize the Red Brick Arts and Recreation Center as an exciting reinvigoration of the town's cultural and recreational activities and as an integral part of the Aspen community. We salute all those citizens who worked so hard to make this dream come true. Thank you. And I have one other thing to add. We've thanked, those speakers before me have done an excellent job of thanking many of the individuals who worked so hard to make this come true. But I want to thank 3 others, the 3 votes that made it happen. You know who you are. Raise your hands and take a round of applause.
Great pleasure.
It's nice to be a ski town, of course, but let's put the horse before the cart. First you gotta have art. You gotta have art. Styles and styles and styles of art. Oh, it's nice to be a ski town, of course, but let's put the horse before the cart. First you gotta have art.
Enjoy the day.